A lot of things that we're going to be talking about. And let's see, we did everything, the intro, all that good stuff.
Yep.
Awesome. I am going to be on my very first telesummit. I'm really excited about that. This woman named Brenda Pierce put together 15 people to communicate and talk with anybody that's interested in any type of healing, any type of growth process, intuition, all about this new spirituality. And if you haven't signed up, sign up now. My debut is going to be Thursday at 7 p.m. and I'm excited. So if you want to go there, you go to www.medicinewoman, that's with an A, medicinewoman, 4, the number 4, U. So the letter U, medicinewoman, the number 4, the letter U.com. And you hit Healthy Wealthy Evolution. It'll take you to the information page. You just sign in for free, and that way you get the information sent to you about who is speaking and when. You also get to hear replays. And we were designed to give you not just our information, but to also create packages. So there's one heck of good deals that are on those speaking times. So please support me. That'll be great. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm just excited. Now,
so what time is that?
it's 7 p.m.
Eastern
on
time.
Eastern Standard Time on December 6th. Yes.
Thursday, okay.
Now, also, we have our good friend Rusty that he goes by, and he has created what they call the Paranet. It's Mysteries and Unexplained. You know, it's a magazine, but he created, it's called, you know how Facebook setup is? Well, it's called Paranet, Paranet.com. Well, actually, I don't know if it's .com yet, because if you really go, I believe it's magazines and
Is there a link
mysteries
on his site to it, or how do you get to it?
Well, that's what I'm trying to find out, because, right, you know, I just happened to join his Mysteries and Unresolved. I cannot seem to say the name.
Unsolved
That's
paranormal
what I
events and
Sorta.
so forth.
Sorry, I don't mean to chop it up, Rusty. But anyway, the point is that it's great because it's a place just like Facebook where you can hang out, but you get to hang out with people that are like-minded in similar fashion, because the paranormal ranges from anything. I mean, to me, every time I look at the paranormal, it is a palette of colors. Because when you have a palette that you're going to paint with all the colors, all of them are completely different, but yet they can intermingle. And each one is very important in that color palette, and that's what I think that the paranormal is all about. Some people do ghost hunting, some people clear houses, some people are into spirituality, and some people are in whatever else. I mean, because paranormal is everything that can't really be explained. But yet we're all given a voice to this wonderful thing that's out there. I cover the metaphysical state of what it means to the energies that what creates a human, what creates the moment. And our soul has a language, which is what I'm teaching. And what's important is to understand that we do have a soul language. Now, is there any other events coming up that that you may want to mention? No, nothing right now?
Nothing right now.
Okay. So, what we do is we take real life experiences and we help people to define why life showed up that way. What's funny is that I just found out there is actually a comment space on my website that wasn't coming to me. It was going to somewhere else, so I had to refix that. So I found out I had like 10 to 15 people that had wrote me, and I never wrote them back because I didn't know it was there.
Right, it was somewhere stuck in the ethers.
So now I have to go through. But somebody, we always take real life experiences and we cut the names out and all of this. But people have experiences in life. That's what we're here for. But some of them can be really, what do you call it, intense moments.
They knock you for a loop, and they could, it's one of those make or break moments kind of thing.
That's true. That's
true.
true.
You find out what you're made of.
And what we look at is how we got disconnected from our spiritual selves, which is our true identity, and then over-identified with all the aches, pains, and suffering, all of the emotional, mental stuff that helps create being human. There's nothing wrong with being human. Thank God I am one. That's why I can be here. But at the same time, life can be, you can listen to your soul, whether it's in a whisper or what I call a bitch slap. So how bad is it going to have to get before you actually listen to your soul? I look at life as also, I'm the projector that projects out the story, so I'm also the writer and producer and I'm an actor in my own movie, but it's a movie of life.
If you've ever seen the movie Click with Adam Sandler, it's a great example.
I love that movie. Remember the universal remote that he had?
Yes.
And he gets to make the choices, and I love how they did it, because most of the time people are on auto response. Means they're just going through, going and there were parts of the movie he goes, well, I didn't want to go through it that fast. I wanted to enjoy it. Well, because you already have it pre-programmed in your subconscious mind of how you are going to react and behave in those moments, it can just become that natural that you don't realize you're doing it. So we take real life cases and we break it down so that we can see what the soul is telling you. Remember, we're always the cause and effect of the universe. And simply, most people, when they're in that human mindset, they are mainly the cause, okay? Especially if I'm looking at you. You're the cause of my world! That's screwed up! So, guess what? The person that's looking is actually blaming. But if you really look at the one that's blaming, they are also the effect, where they'll walk around and become the victims, and they can't, they'll have the wounds and things like this. But again, we're both cause and effect, because it takes two to create that moment. So two souls will come together. People can't show up to us any other way than we program them to. What do I mean by that, Jen?
So, that they're programmed. So, like you said, they're actors or characters in your life story, but these people are showing up if you haven't fixed that program. And I love the example of the computer, and you've got the software, and every once in a while sometimes it'll say, it's ready for an update, would you like to update? It's ready for an update, would you like to update? And then depending on how many programs you've got going, that's how long it takes for you to start up and get them running and that kind of thing. And then you have to make sure that they're all going to interact with each other well and that kind of thing. But you're responsible for how your computer is running, just like I'm responsible for how I'm running and operating through my life. So these people will show up, and they will show to you, and I've walked away from plenty of situations going, wow, that person is such a D-bag today, great, that's awesome, I'm so glad I brought them into my world, and I might not even be that involved in this situation, just walk away, like a cartoon with that little steam cloud poof above your head, going, walking away. That's when I'm not really operating for my spirit self, because somebody has triggered something. But that when stepping back, I could say, well, what? Really? Do I want that to repeat and that kind of thing when I'm ready for it? Because I've been unpacking some baggage this weekend that has been an issue in my life, but now it's ready to unpack. But anyway, so that's why they're programmed to show up that way, because that's what's going on.
And I go a little further about what is why people can't show up any other way than we let them. We're the ones that define the moment. We basically get a dictionary and say, this is what this means, this is how I feel about it, this is what I expected to happen. And then we tap into the group consciousness of what does the economy look like, I'm a victim to this. And yes, you can heal yourself to not have to follow in that particular pattern. Because you're talking about history, you're talking about the genetics. We were reading something where 1 out of 200 people or children come from Genghis Khan.
Oh yeah, the men specifically, I think.
They were talking about how many people are related to Genghis Khan, because when he was here, he raped and pilfered and did what he wanted.
Most of Europe or Asia.
Well, they've calculated pinpointed 60,000 conquests he had with.
Right. And so it kind of makes you upset because who was Genghis Khan? What was his temperament? What was his personality? What was his attitude? And regardless of the people he raped or that got pregnated by him, there are traits that pass on. I watched my sister, not really knowing her father, have the same mannerisms as her father. Eating habits, same type of look, and it does carry through. And so, so what ends up happening is you're carrying on certain particular behaviors. I had a grandma, a mother, and a daughter. So it's 3 women in the line of family. And they were coming in for the daughter that seemed to have just the same issue all the time. And they're like, oh my gosh, yes, it's familiar. They didn't realize that they were talking that it's familiar about with them, that how they know it. They were just trying to give her support. And then when I sat down, it sounds like all 3 of you had this in the past. And as I started pointing things out, they were like, yes, yes. And I says, this is a genetic line of what is an inherited. Sometimes we get trapped emotions that are inherited in our body. But we also get trapped emotions kind of like in our DNA. So there's a part of us that you can use to disrupt some of these old signals. Okay, so now let's go a little bit further again. People can't show up to you any other way than you let them, because the moment you react with that signature, I reacted with certain signatures, you know, with my parents. And even though my parents aren't here, I will, because I didn't resolve it, I couldn't process at the moment that the bad thing happened, I will create people along my path that will carry that similar signature from time to time, and I have to face it. I will have to look and face it. I can say, oh, there's proof, there's another butthead, or oh, there's more proof. Oh, here we go again. But I have to listen to my soul. My soul says, why are we projecting this out? And that's because there's unresolved process moments, and that's what we're looking for. Anyways, we project energy out there so other souls can play the part in our movie. We already have this process, or this moment we can't process, and so in order for us to process it, we send out an energy cord that says, I need a soul, a situation to show up to me so I can review it again and decide, am I going to have a program that can process this time? So people, a loving soul, and I want you to get the big difference between a loving soul and a human. So a loving soul will volunteer and say, okay, I will help you at that moment, because I'm over here working on my issue too. So 2 people will come together, create the specific situation, and they can be the butthead in your movie. But the point is did you waste it? Did you not see it? Or were you unable to resolve it? Or were you able to appreciate the fact that that situation happened and then you can heal it? Okay? You have to have these type of people so that you can see the needs to be resolved, rewritten, or grow from. Being too over-identified, which means you're being this. Being too over-identified with the matter or with the observed moments can cause you to be in repetitive, hellish state, which eliminates the heavenly state. Do you have something to tell me? Are we all good? We're all good? Okay. So, I want you to understand some of the words and gems that I'm talking about. We already explained a few. What's an observed moment, Jen?
So, an observed moment is, for me, one example is being able to take a step back in the situation, realize that wait a minute, I'm intentionally going to take a step back and just take a look at what's going on in this situation, and I'm going to watch it. What is that person saying? What is that person saying? What am I saying? How am I reacting? What's going on? And just,
just like the moment you were in the bar and you couldn't figure out why all of a sudden, as pretty as you looked, as you wanting to date somebody or just dance, you're like, what's happening? Because no one would give you the time of day, and you're like, do I smell? You remember the whole situation quite well.
Right. But yeah, so I came back and I just took.
She went in the bathroom,
gave
looked in the mirror,
gave myself a pep talk, came back out, and just stood off to the side and just watched just watched what was going on, what's happening, because these guys were acting like I was invisible. Acting like I don't know what was going on. They were running right past me as long as they could get to, you know, other people out on the dance floor. So I had to take a step back and really observe. Wait a minute, what is going on? How am I acting? How are they acting? What am I? What's being brought to my attention? So you really, as Eckhart Tolle will say, you stand out of the pain body. You know, I wasn't physically in pain, but in that moment it was kind of hurtful that I was just being ignored. I mean, completely ignored, and you know, that stung a little bit. So you take a step back outside the pain body and say, wait a minute, what's going on?
And then another observed moment will be the first time you collapse that energy in space and time. It's that first encounter. As you are observing and looking at things around you, communicating with things around you, you're in a constant observation about how you're creating this illusion. And as being a human being, you're on the quantum level, you're collapsing time. So you can create this matter, this moment. But when those observed moments, this first time that you over-identify, so let's say my husband right now were to yell at me, I would be in observation mode, and all of a sudden my reaction to what I just observed is going to be on a different level of a heightened awareness, or a different level of how I just recorded it. And so that is a first observed moment that maybe needs to process out later. When I say over-identify with those observed moments, let's explain that.
So over-identifying, as we were talking about this earlier, in a situation somebody can say something and all of a sudden it's like words just pop right out. They become triggers. And then it's easy to get lost in what, you know, the semantics of it. Wait a minute, what do you mean by, I'm trying to think of, I don't know, the word Wicca could be a trigger for some people. Mm-hmm. And what do you mean by that? Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What's the history of it? What does it mean today? That kind of thing. And it can be, you know, especially if you are Wicca and somebody's saying something, it would be easy to want to defend it. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I was just picking a word out of my head to use as an example. But it's, what other words that we can get lost in? Definitions that really mean something that you want to defend. And wait a minute. Oh,
well,
I feel
they call you nasty names. They
right.
call you and say that you're this and that, and you're like, where the heck did you get that idea?
Oh, well, like I posted information about a particular healthy, you know, herb or plant that would be able to help with cancer, and this person just went off on me and was talking about how it was the bastardization of truth and this, that, the other, and did, you know, and I looked at it and it hurt and it stung. And I was really disappointed that somebody felt like they would be able to have that right to be able to say those kinds of things to me. Had I not been in a spirit space, I would have responded, you know, and started the name calling and that kind of thing. But it's when somebody, it's an attack to some degree.
True. So over-identifying. Well, there's your true essence of who you are, okay? And then there is that over-identification with matter. This is when people say, oh, you're in your ego. You're always in your ego no matter what, because you have to create the illusion and you have to be a part of this. But it's when you over-identify with that matter, give it more meaning emotionally, mentally, and everything else, and it overtakes you, it forces you to succumb to it, it's in charge, it haunts you, it literally, you feel the energy, sometimes it's sucking from you or it's attacking you, but you can't help but going, oh my God! And what you're doing is that you're overwhelmed and you cannot process that moment. So it's so important to understand that when the moment happens, you're not only observing it, but you're also recording it. And when you record it, when it's overwhelming and you can't get ahead of it, it'll feel like it's attacking you. It feels like maybe it's sucking the life out of you. It feels like it's smothering. It can be any of those things. Now,
are we ready to take a break?
Let's take a break. Now we're back. Alrighty, let's see here. The reason we wanted you to understand is that most people forget that they're human. When they have a conversation and they're heated at the moment and bad things are happening, that's you. You are over-identifying with that moment. We're not saying it's wrong. We're not blaming.
Because it happens.
We're talking about looking at the observation of what your soul's telling you. So I'm going to be reading this particular email, and the gems in this, and I want you to look for the gems. And what do I mean by that, Jen?
What are it's the valuable pieces of information, and they're pointing to unresolved issues. You can say, why is this always happening to me? Or this person always acts this way. Always. So you know that pattern. So when something happens, there are these gems, these nuggets of good information that are pointing to why this is repeating, why this happens, and asking you to pay attention.
Before we go any further, I have to tell you something funny. My husband bought me an inversion table because I had hurt my back. I totally recommend them. They are awesome. They can pull and stretch, so it helps realign the vertebrae.
As long as you don't mind being upside down.
Yeah, and I don't. But if you're a woman, wear a bra. Because I hadn't realized, because when you're standing, gravity pulls things down.
And when you're upside down, they go up.
But I did prove a point. I can't get black eyes from it. But it does make one hell of a looking picture. My daughter's going, cover up, Mom, cover up. Like, apparently they were coming out in all directions. And I'm like, I can't see anything upside down, except for, and it feels, and it's interesting because as I'm on my head, I actually have a ledge. I got flat stomach. But the way the boobs were creating, I actually could set a tray on there. And it was like, seriously, I told my husband to take a picture and he wouldn't, but I really wanted to see what I look like upside down, because I'm sure I won't get anybody else on that thing but me. And I
was on it once.
I might try it again, as long as it's not a repeated experience of what happened with my ex-husband.
No. You won't have the heat because it's in the atrium.
Correct.
So you get a snug little blanket if you want, and that's fine. But I just thought that was humorous. Now let's get back to what we were talking about. I gotta throw things in there every now and then.
And now for something completely different.
Yes. All right. So, jokes were made behind my back, taking advantage of me, sending me nasty emails.
This is that email you're reading?
Yes.
Okay.
This is this is, bits and pieces, so we cut the names out and everything else. Again, it's not about talking about anybody. It's about spiritual investigation to helping you find out the soul's information about the event. Why would this happen to people? It seems there are people left in my world that I haven't gotten rid of that continue to harass as they see fit. They do not have any moral fibers to do anything face-to-face with me. I really despise these people. Some people seem to take great delight in telling me what others say or do behind my back. I also despise these type of people because they are taking delight in trying to make me discomfort. But you know what? And before I tell you what the you-know-what is, we have to look at the knowing here. This person knows, and it's so important before we go any further. It's how you know your world, and it's how it's familiar. What other words can we use besides familiar and knowing? It's your experiences. It is
sometimes it's so ingrained and subtle, it's difficult to pick it out and say this is what's going on, because for some that's just what life is.
No, that's funny. In the chat room, Kimberly is having one hell of a time. Does she get this volume yet? I think it's her speakers, or she needs to open up in a different browser. Maybe tell her to open up in, I don't know, if she's got Chrome or if she's got...
She said she was going to use Chrome this afternoon.
Okay, because the simple fact is that I see her to the right, which I didn't see her before. Now
she was just on. Well, she was on and then she was off, and now she's back. So then okay. Well,
Okay, so you'll continue with that. What was I doing?
you were talking about
The email.
how things are
Yes.
just so. How do you pick it
How do you
apart?
know?
How do you know?
Okay, like, especially in a fresh experience, that is a gem. The fresh experiences is in the moment that it's happening. And it almost looks like it's familiar from the past. The reason you have fresh experiences is so that you can understand what you know, how you're hooked into it, how the experiences are there, how things aren't resolved yet. And it's waiting for you to decide how many times does it take to hear this fresh experience. If you heard it for the first time, then it probably won't hurt you. You'll be going, oh, really? Now sometimes you can get the fresh experience in a very comical, funny way. Or it'll have to be really bad, and the fresh experience will be in pain. And this is what this letter is. It's a fresh experience for this particular person. But understanding how you know it will help you understand your beliefs, your values, how you operate. And sometimes there are things about you that you have to heal or resolve in your inner world so that your outer world is better. Sometimes you have to change personalities. What do I mean by that, Jen?
Well, it's interesting about the idea of changing personalities because I go back to this situation where I interact with people who've known me for my entire life. They've known me, and it is in my the ministry, or I call it church world. They've known me. I've been going to this camp since I was 5 years old. It's an all-ages camp, so they've seen me all over the spectrum of how I've grown up, how I've behaved, and that kind of thing. And now that I'm in the place and position in my life where I am, some people want to draw me back to old behaviors, old habits, because they're not understanding or comprehending the way that I'm interacting with people currently.
Yeah, and for me, I know that what personalities and behaviors have I left behind? Being overprotective of myself. Being an isolated introvert. These are characteristics, behaviors that, and programs that I have realized that no longer served me. I could see how they served me. I could see the benefits of having them, but I noticed how many missed opportunities. It didn't allow me to thrive. When I had certain behaviors, when my boyfriend died, there was a huge thing that occurred. I had lost myself. And then during the trials of recovery, I had met somebody that supposedly wanted to help me but put me back on my feet. But then after 3 months, let's say he got sex, he dumped me. I was completely devastated because the timing was, I just had my boyfriend die, and this guy was happy, and he wouldn't stop it. He bugged me every day. Be my girlfriend, be my girlfriend. I'm like, F off, I can't handle this right now. And finally I said yes, and then it occurred, the sex thing occurred, and the next thing I know, I'm like, what happened? Because then he had to leave me. And then he became this big macho man and started to hang out with other girls. What were you going to say?
Well, and it's such a different, the whole sex thing is a different experience between boys and girls, and how,
That's
that,
true.
And he got what he
Well,
wanted.
that wasn't really the intention, but he didn't have confidence to talk to anybody. And then all of a sudden it was like it opened up this world that gave him great confidence, and that was that. But there was more to the story because he felt also responsible for my boyfriend dying, which he wasn't. It just happened. It was part of it. But for 3 months, I literally couldn't take it anymore. I had no way to process it, any of the stuff. I didn't want to be tied to the house and watch my little sister all the time, which I knew that I had to, but I literally felt like I cracked. I had turned cigarettes. That eased and numbed the nummingness I already had going on, but I couldn't take that anymore. So then my friend had me go out, and then I was partying with my friends, and you know, I didn't do drugs, but I drank and I hung out, I laughed, I joked, I flirted, I didn't have sex, and except for once, and it's like, why? And then I woke up and I'm with this group full of people that are not really my friends. We know how to join in that camaraderie. Like, for instance, I was watching this show one time, and her son is a mortal enemy to anybody in the group, but yet she smoked, and then she smoked with some of the people. I had to go outside. So she started talking to the people that were supposed to be the enemies, and the next thing you know, oh, you're so cool! Wow, my son really don't like you. That's too bad because you're so great. And we talked about this before about
when you
instant friends.
When you smoke, you have instant friends.
Common bond.
A common bond, and that's what I found was that everybody in that group that I was with had a common bond, and they were in pain and didn't know how to process. So they're all your best friends, but not really going to have your back.
Right. I mean, there were the girls, there was this one particular bathroom that was designated the smoking bathroom in my high school, and so I'd go there during break and
We're learning all more stuff about her, that's why I'm just giggling.
and smoke during school. Yeah. So, but at that moment in time, it was like you were friends, but outside of that bathroom, nope, they didn't want anything to do with you. But I could go there and have some chit chat, and then, you know.
But that's what happened to me, was that for 3 months, and then when I woke up, I'm looking around and I'm thinking, what am I doing? Why are they even laughing? This is not my answer. And I understood why I had gotten there, and I just got up and walked my 3 or 4 miles home, and then I never looked back. All those people are like, well, come on a party, be this and be that, and I'm like, that's not me. Well, that's not true. That's what you were about 2 months ago. Sorry. Changed my mind. And then they call you traitor, and then they're mean.
Right.
And
oh,
like,
look at her. She didn't want to be with us anymore. Oh, she's too good.
Yes, and it's like, you got to be okay to say no. And so changing those personalities, I changed quite a few of them because they no longer served me. I had acted that way to some. Like, here's another one. I didn't have much of a backbone because I was told that unconditional love is supposed to be the utmost. So I said, that's true. Okay. So I did my best every day to constantly give unconditional love, and that turned into I was a doormat. They could treat me with conditioned love all they wanted, but I gave unconditional love, but yet caused me so much pain and suffering.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So then they could throw you under the bus and not think anything of it.
Exactly. And when they threw me under the bus, they didn't even know they did it. You did it. And it's like, seriously? Somehow it always point back to me. And I'm like, okay, you know what? So I got a backbone, became unquiet, but I had to go to the extreme to get my voice. I went to a car dealer lot one time, and the guy was trying to hem and haw, and I says, I know you can go below the price, and he goes, no, I can't. I'm going to find another one. No, he started chasing me down, and then he says, well, here's a car over here, and by that time he knocked $500 off. I says, oh, really? That's it? And I looked down, and I said, that muffler's got a hole in it, and then I can't have that until you get it replaced. And this person says, oh, well, this is a used car lot. If you want that, go get a brand new one. I said, I know that I don't have to buy a lemon. And it just became where I got under the thing, I pointed under this and that, and I just started to become direct. And that directness, some people can't stand. But it's like in a hospital, though. Scott, Jen, and I have all talked about this, that when you're in the hospital, doctors can't put up with whiny nurses, and nurses can't put up with whiny interns or any of this stuff. There is a set protocol of how you get things done, and then you're done. No one can have any hurt feelings. Is that correct?
Yes. When I talk about my hospital chaplain training, if you're overly sensitive over what the doctor says, oh well, you kind of just have to, whatever, they're in charge, and the whole point is because it is, to save that life, to bring them back, whatever they're supposed to be doing, it is. And I mean, you're in the midst of that trauma room watching this whole scene unfold, You know, and depending on how many beds are filled and how big the trauma is. I saw one where, you know, the trauma came in, all 4 were filled, and there are people running all over the place. You stand back and you know your place.
Yeah, and you only got
And
like
you can't
couple
take
seconds.
it you don't take it, and you can't take it personal.
So when I went from quiet as a mouse to an extreme, people saw that as mean and vicious, but what I realized is that I don't even have to be mean. I went straight to the point. So when I'm in direct, I go right to the point. I'm cut, I'm short. Like the other day, my husband's in the kitchen making noise. I'm trying to do a radio show. I had to go to break, and I said, stop. Let's get this. Do it. Done. And he's over there going, yeah, but you don't have to treat. They go, shut up! And literally, I just had to scoop, take, send. Because there's no time for, I'm sorry, to explain, let me love you, da-da-da.
20 seconds, that's it.
I only need this. I don't need 2 hours trying to make everybody feel better. Shut up, get out. And, you know, sometimes that can hurt, especially if they don't understand that it feels like you're running the emergency room.
It's purpose-driven.
It's purpose-driven. Yeah, exactly. And so sometimes my husband can't understand when I get purpose-driven. When some of my clients continuously try to run on and get whiny, I said, it's your money, but you know what? Let's get this. So I'll get purpose-driven and I'll go boop, 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 and then they're like, oh. And I'm like, okay. So that's just some personalities. You do need to change them, especially if they no longer serve you, and it doesn't matter what other people think. But you have to decide, do you really want them? So as I explained in this thing, the first paragraph, I'll read it. We'll take a quick break and then I'll come right back and I'll read.
Hey, we're back.
And
Were you live doing that?
No.
Oh.
I am alive doing this, yes.
we are going to talk about what they're talking about. There was a meme that Jen put on my wall. It's this cute little bunny that's going, covering his eyes, going, oh, those poor little field mice, oh.
And I bumped him on the head.
And then
I
Jen...
have no idea what that reference even goes to.
And then Jen says, oh, we could teach him how to use healing tools to get over that remorse.
Right.
Yes, he was guilty for bopping the little field mice.
Yes.
So, Jen, sing the little song for...
Oh, you really want me to sing on the radio?
Don't do it extract. You know how to do this.
Little bunny foo-foo hopping through the forest, picking up the field mice and bopping them on the head. And then
That's what the little...
Never heard of that.
and then
kindergartners.
the ghoul comes and says, oh God,
I can't remember the rest of it. We'll have to look it up and play that for you. We'll put it on your wall.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I learned it
Bunny
in kindergarten.
foo-foo?
Little bunny foo-foo.
Hey, Mark, now that you're there, why don't you put up the link, if we can see it, about the Paranet. I think it's Mysteries and Unresolved. I can't say the word. But if you could put up...
Unsolved.
Unsolved mysteries.
So we're so used to talking about unresolved issues.
I can't get
now
it out
we're
of my
talking
head.
about unsolved mysteries, not the TV show.
So if you could just put up that link, Mark, hopefully you're listening.
And then I don't know why, you might not get the thing about get us paying gigs on the road.
Oh, because Kimberly said that we could take this act on the road and it'd be good. And I said I agree. Mark's our producer. Why don't Mark just take things on the road? He could make more money that way.
Yes, so that's the whole thing.
But he's got all those kids right now, so there's no way he could leave.
So he could send us out on the road.
Just find all the gigs.
Yep.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't
What's
all start
the
in his
link?
backyard.
What's the link? We want to
The
know the link.
Paranet.
Paranet link.
The one Rusty started. Looks
I'm
like
yelling.
Facebook.
I'm yelling at the computer. Make it work.
Our friend Rusty made it. It was like mysteries and unresolved or unsolved
It's
mysteries and unsolved. I think it's Paranet something. If you don't have it, I'll have to make sure that it gets.
Oh,
up
he
on
says me produce you. Hey, we're right here. Look, you produced us.
manage possibly. Yes.
Yes. Cool.
Go out
Yes.
and get us gigs.
Produce no, manage yes.
Okay, sorry, I got the wrong thing.
Somebody's got to manage.
He could be your agent.
Yeah, be your agent. That's what we made. Wow, we need an agent. Somebody that can get us the gigs, and my husband can be the manager, and he'll just have to stay in the music business or in the paranormal 24-hour business. Yeah, that's it. Mysteries and unexplained.
Mysterious and unexplained.
Oh, mysterious and unexplained. Oh, jeez. Okay.
Mysterious and unexplained.
Why am I having such trouble with that? I have no idea.
That's what we do every day.
I know my world.
Okay.
Getting back.
Okay.
Well, like I
Are we
said,
talking about something?
yes, we had a real
Well,
life
the
case.
email.
And the real life case is that why did it happen? this person, like I said, it seems there are people left in my world that I need to get rid of. And this person says they harass me as they see fit. They said these people don't have any moral fibers and they can't do this face to face.
What happened, Jen?
Nothing. I thought that was inside my head. Keep going.
Oh, the laughter?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. Now, what we want you to understand is that the way this person wrote it, the belief of knowing, we talked about how it's important that you know. Knowing that it can be healed and processed to the finish. You know this, it's familiar. And the way the person wrote it was that people harass me, meaning the energy is coming to them. They do it to me, and they have no moral fiber, which means they take and put it up to what they wouldn't do. And they prefer to be confronted. But it's all about how others can have this power to create discomfort in my world. We would actually take a healing tool and help that person heal how they know it so they can stop creating that belief system of that reality. And it's another way that we are left vulnerable because it's, you know, everybody says they need to protect themselves. But being your authentic self, if you have these unresolved issues of those first moments that happen in our space, they actually leave you vulnerable, so the attraction factor goes out and brings these situations to you, and then you're like, oh my God, I'm hurt again. And the way that this person wrote was so that they were looking for a fight. They can't speak their mind, so they have to turn around and defend themselves through a letter because they're unable to address the people directly because those people are running away or hiding or not coming to the surface.
And
So,
we call that tanking to some degree, is that whatever's going on with them, they feel like they have the right to be able to dump on somebody else, whether in
Right.
person, and this is even one step back, done through, you know, all the blah blah blah, rumor mill.
exactly. Stuff. It's the magic bus. Okay. This person had to feel like he had to explain. I don't know if it's a he or she, but anyways, I've been to hell and back, and I have a lot of life experience about humiliation, shame. Some I've done to myself, and I know that others have done to me. And really, shame will follow you anywhere. Humiliation, again, if this is how you know it, put on a scale from 0 to 10, and let's heal it out, because it does not need to be sitting there. And so then you also feel like you're being prosecuted and hurt, and so you want people to start walking in your shoes so they understand. But there's a lot of people that are in a lot of pain, and they just have to direct that hell to somebody, and if your attraction factor brings it in, then you're supposed to be the victim.
Right.
Now again, this person says, I believe they do this to me, meaning they see the energy come to them. They see people that, it's not about that they're more powerful, it's just that this person has enough of the power to do this. You know, enough of the gall or the balls to do so. And that, of course, makes you try to explain it and say they just don't care or they don't understand. You know, and that's true. If a person understood your situation, do you think they'd be more sympathetic? In some cases, yes, because that's what creates the entanglement cord to be either more balanced. I was watching, oh my God, I can't remember, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Yes.
Yes, that's it. The boy is a German little boy, and he happens to find this camp, a Jewish camp, concentration camp, that, and so he found another little boy his age, and he's like, oh, I get to go play with somebody. So he's excited that he gets to meet this little boy. Now this little boy never gets to come out, but yet he don't care. He's going to give him food, and he wants to go in to play with him for the day, and so he gets a concentration camp uniform and transforms himself. He takes his clothes off and puts that on, and you know, they cover him up the best they can because his hair's there and all. And so then the little boy's in there, and he's like, oh, let me look around. So the two little boys are holding hands, walking around, looking at everything, and he's just amazed by how this little boy has to live. So, you know, he gets to understand his world. I'm not going to tell you how the ending happens, you know, break your heart, so go watch it. But it's about that, getting to know someone. There's other shows I can't think of right now, and I think even in the Jewish movies, some of the movies that the Schindler's List, I can't remember if it's in that one or not, where they're best friends and they get ripped apart, and then all they have to be on enemy teams, but then they come up to battle. Do they fight with each other, Or are they going to do their best to, yes, they're going to have to fight, but can they protect you to some degree without giving away that they're protecting you? So in a way, I understand the statement. You know, if they knew or if they cared, then they probably wouldn't treat you that way.
To some degree, depending on if you have another attraction factor which says if they have that information, then they get to use it as ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's true. And again, this person says they take great delight in do this. Now, this reminds me of the woman that I created in my field that didn't care. Even if she did know me, she didn't care. She felt like I took something of hers even though I hadn't. She wanted my life, my kids, my mother and father-in-law. She wanted the house I lived in. She wanted to have better than what she had, and that's what she was looking at. Now, why would I attract her in? Well, we've talked about this in different circles. That's all I've ever known growing up. I'm the one at fault because no one else has anything. I've got people that are jealous because I'm the youngest and, you know, oh, I got food. It should have been me that got food. I've got people that were angry because whatever reason. You just have all these people piling on, and it's always about a territory issue. I've only seen the energy come at me that people wanted to take it from me. Being that said, it's specific people because I don't have scammers that come to me. I don't attract those other people that are deliberately trying to hurt me. Very specific signature in this case for me.
I think mine is too. The more that I've healed, and I go back to that person that felt like they could say those things on my wall on Facebook, and that stuck out because it was so odd because I'm not attracting those people. So it is a specific a specific signature or for a specific reason or to show something specific that I need to take a look at.
And what's interesting is that we don't really care about those people's opinion. But that signature, at one point, we lost something of ourselves to the point where our subconscious mind or our soul values their opinion, which would shock you. Because that's not how I consciously think about it. Why in the hell would I care about them? Or first of all, why does their opinion matter? Going to the signature, and the signature is very important. And I don't know if I can ask her this question because I don't know if she hears me. So what does signature mean, Jen?
A signature is, so it's the energy or, we're even going more in depth, but I'll try to keep it simple. What emanates from a person, their energy, it's almost like their carbon footprint to some degree, because it's their programs, it's their operating systems, and that energy carries a certain vibration or frequency or whatever you want to call it, because we all have that, and so certain people carry that, and if we need to work on something, then we'll draw that. It's like a magnet to some degree. We'll draw that to us.
You will also have the tendency, if you don't, or if that's not your original carbon footprint, you will also have the tendency. It's like, for instance, when you understand that you can't hypnotize anybody to kill anybody unless it's already in your operating system that you would do so.
Right, if you would do it consciously.
Right. And when it comes to these certain signatures, I know that I have morphed into what somebody wanted me to become, the signature they needed, and that's something that I probably wouldn't be, but I understood that they needed me to be that, and I didn't want to volunteer, but I could see my soul volunteering that, oh, I have to show up this way, and that's the way I need to do it. So you're not, sometimes you're just a partial signature at certain times.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Because we have to show up for that person, and you say nobody can show up to us any other way than how we let them, but
yes.
Then sometimes we're fulfilling that for that person while that another person is fulfilling that for us.
Like, for instance, you're in your car, you're driving down the road, the person across the street is a dick. You're just, I know they are. Well, how would you even come up with that conclusion? Because you're looking at the triggers, okay? You're the one that's defining that moment of that person. Now, if you go and talk to that person across the road, did you know that person over in the car thinks you're a dick? What? What did I do? Now, they didn't know they were doing anything.
Right. It could be the color of their hair, you know, when you see something as a little kid,
Wearing the
their
wrong
eyes-
kind of tennis shoes.
right, the T-shirt or
Or
whatever,
the way they're
or
walking.
or they've got this expression on their face. Well, we don't know what's happening in their personal life, but because they've, you know, they may be reacting to a situation. All of a sudden, oh, well, look at them, they're looking blah 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 blah. You know, and we have no idea
Exactly.
what's going on with that person's world.
Exactly. And so, regardless, we show up the way we're supposed to. So now, what we're going to do is we'll take a quick little break, and we'll be back.